Welcome back to Inner Word. We're here with Amy Ahlers. She is a life coach and co-founder of the Inner Mean Girl Reform School and author of Big Fat Lies Women Tell Themselves. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you too. And holidays are a great time for this book.
Yes, so indeed.
Tell me, in a very stressful time, we start to, that inner critic comes out.
Yes.
Tell us, what are the big fat lies that women tell themselves?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's 59 big fat lies in the book. So there's a whole bunch in there, and I've been having a lot of people just open up to the table of contents and say, that one's for me. But some of the most common ones are, I'm not enough, or it has to be perfect. The perfectionist and the inner perfectionist really comes up, especially during the holiday season, telling us that the presents have to be perfect, the house needs to look perfect, the decorations need to be perfect. And I'm taking a stand for us to take our power back from that inner critic.
Yeah, this is a really good time for that. And you know, it's interesting, reading the beginning of the book, you say that we're at the stage of our evolution where we should be happier. We've accomplished more.
Yes.
Our lives are better, but we're less happy than we were a generation ago, and more depressed, twice as depressed as men are. So why is that?
Well, you know, it's so interesting, isn't it? I really feel like we've been fed two simultaneous messages as women. Any woman alive today can relate to this. One message is you can do anything, and then the other contradictory message is you're not enough.
Right.
And so how crazy making is that? Here we are feeling like you can do anything, you're not enough. You can do anything, you're not enough. It's a little bit crazy making. And I think we've really fallen into the trap of the when then big fat lie, which is big fat lie number 11 in the book. When we get blank, then we're going to be happy. When we have the power in the workplace, then we're going to be happy. When we get the car, then we're going to be happy. When we have, get paid $1 for dollar for men in the workplace, then we're going to be happy. But the truth is, none of those external things are the key to our happiness. Right. It's actually the internal things that are the key to the happiness.
So let's talk about that. You talk about two different inner beings that reside within women, and one is the inner critic. Talk to us about the inner critic.
Well, we all have a voice inside of us. This the inner critic, or inner mean girl, as Christina Rilo and I like to say at Inner Mean Girl Reform School. That's the voice that beats us down. She compares our worst to everyone else's best. She's overly judgmental, overly critical. And then there's also the voice inside of us, the voice of the inner wisdom, as I like to call her. And that's the voice of truth. That's the voice inside of you that lets you know that it's okay to go easy on yourself, that it's okay for you to say, I'm beautiful just as I am, that you can stop comparing yourself to all of those photoshopped and airbrushed images that we see in magazines. So it's almost like we have those two things sitting on our shoulders. And
we do, and is it true for every woman, do you think?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. I've been a life coach now for over a decade, and I've discovered that despite the external circumstances, we all have those internal voices that are really hard on us.
Why is it so much more true for women? Men don't walk around going, oh, I look fat today. And, men are like,
I know,
it's full force ahead. They don't worry. They're not self-conscious. They don't have that inner critic the way we do.
I will say I've coached a lot of men in my time as well, and men are hard on themselves as well. My dad's read my book and is like, Aim, I've thought almost every single one of these big fat lies, but men are harder on themselves about different things. So I found in my work that men are a lot harder on themselves about career and money, for example, and women are incredibly hard on themselves about the way that they look, and will really have these inner critic voices that say things like, you're unlovable. I mean, how brutal is that? You're not good enough. You're damaged goods, things like that. Women will really fall prey to those ones that really cut us down at a core level. And men's inner critics are a little bit more on the superficial level. They'll put pressure on themselves, but it's just different. So we all have them. It's the human experience. It really is.
Now, what about, so I'm reading the book and I'm thinking, well, that's really nice to get into your inner wisdom and your inner truth, but sometimes you say the inner wisdom can tell you a harsh truth, but in a loving way. So it's not all Pollyanna. It's not all like, you're wonderful, you're perfect.
Right. No, well, in fact, I would really say, I always think of that Stuart Smalley sketch on SNL, and gosh darn it, people like me. That's not what we're going for here. Right, exactly. And every single big fat lie in the book, all 59 have the truth, and then a coaching challenge exercise, an actual tangible tool, and then an affirmation and an inspiring quote. So there's a lot of meat to the books because I didn't want to just point it out and then leave people there or just talk about it. I wanted them to have an experience. And I think that when we look at that overly positive, that can actually be another voice of the inner critic. At Inner Mean Girl Reform School, we have 17 different archetypes, and the inner Pollyanna that can cheerlead us right off a cliff is actually another form of an inner mean girl or an inner critic.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Because sometimes you're trying to do those affirmations to yourself, but you don't really believe them, and then they can kind of backfire. You know?
Well, that's why I really I encourage people to tune into their inner wisdom, because with your inner wisdom, she will deliver the harsh truth. She will tell you, you know, sweetie, put the cookie down or put the drink down or get out of this relationship. But she'll do it from such a space of self-love and self-compassion, whereas your inner mean girl might tell you the exact same thing. Your inner critic might say it, but she'll say it in a way that's really shaming and condemning of you.
Right, I get
so
that.
I'm all about tuning in. Everyone has their own experience. We're the only expert in our own lives. We're the only one living our own life. And so tuning into that inner voice and that inner wisdom is really the space that I'm trying to encourage all of my readers and my clients to go into.
And let's talk about affirmations, because you said something in the book that I thought was really wise, which is people poo-poo affirmations and say they're new agey, but you say we're doing affirmations all day long.
Absolutely. Well, the average person thinks about 60,000 thoughts per day, and the vast majority of those thoughts are negative. They're negative affirmations, and it's interesting because studies have shown us that most of our thoughts are the same thought that we thought the day before and the week before and the month before and the years before.
It's like replay, instant replay.
It is, and you know, with the brain science of it, there's neural pathways in our brain. Our thoughts are actually biochemical impulses inside of our brain. So when we look at really trying to reprogram our brain, reprogram our conscious and subconscious mind, things like affirmations are really important. And it's important to do them on a repetitious level, because that repetition is the key to actually building that new neural pathway in your brain. So there's science that backs it up. It's not just woo-woo. There's actual science and hard data out there.
Now you've got a 3-step process to help us squelch the inner critic and realize the wisdom of the inner wisdom. Tell us about that process.
Anytime my client or myself, anytime I'm feeling any sort of negative emotion, I really encourage people to do this very simple and powerful 3-step process. So anyone at home can follow along right here and now. The first step is just to name, what is my inner critic saying? And really allow your inner critic, your inner mean girl, to take the floor. Let him or her take center stage, and really allow those big fat lies to come out of the darkness and into the light. That's step one.
And you recommend that people actually have an image, whether they draw it themselves or get it out of a magazine.
Great. Yeah, it's great to have an image for that inner critic or that inner mean girl. It's fun. It makes it a little bit playful, but it's also incredibly powerful. And so step one is let that inner critic have that negative voice. My inner critic's name is Negative Nellie. And she's, you know, anxiety-ridden, a worry-wart. And so when I first had my daughter, I have a 4-year-old little girl, I said, you know, what's my inner critic saying? And Negative Nellie, she took the floor and she was like, is the baby breathing? Oh my gosh, you know, it was really scary. So I just let her have the floor, did my 3-step process. And then step 2 is to actually close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then just simply ask, what does my inner wisdom know? What is my inner wisdom now? And once you've allowed your inner mean girl or inner critic to have some space, she'll back off a little bit, and all of a sudden you'll feel that bubbling up of truth inside of you. And you'll know it's your inner wisdom because you'll feel a sense of groundedness, even if your inner wisdom is delivering a hard truth or a tough love truth or a wake-up call truth. And then the third step is a neuro-linguistic programming technique where you actually do some sort of movement or physical gesture and repeat back out loud if possible your inner wisdom's truth. So for me, when my baby, you know, my inner wisdom would say to me, Amy, your baby's going to be just fine. You're doing a great job as a mom. It's okay to relax. And so I would do that while tapping on my heart. That's my inner wisdom gesture. And it's this neuro-linguistic programming technique works because it starts anchoring it into your body.
You get your body and your mind and your emotions all in the same process.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And so it starts that new neural pathway.
Well, very quickly wrapping up here, if you were to give women one best piece of advice, especially for the holidays, what would you say to us?
Oh gosh, my friend Samantha Bennett and I like to say, go for the C. Stop trying to get an A+ around the holiday season. Let yourself off the A+ hook and say, I'm going for the C. I'm just going to get a C on my holiday report card because no one's grading you except for you. So go for the C, lighten up, relax, and have some fun around the holiday season.
Take it easy on yourself. That's a great message.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us.
Thank you.
It's Big Fat Lies Women Tell Themselves. And stay with us. We'll be right back.